All right, let's swim through some garbage, and let's start with a hot piece of garbage that you delivered us this week.
Well, it's all garbage, really.
Always is. So, and I had already seen this when you when you put this in here. There was obviously I don't want to say obviously, but there was the neo-Nazis that were on the bridge near the clearly predominantly black neighborhood. And they came out, and, everyone saw the news about that, but then you shared the body cam, yeah?
Yes.
Body cam.
Yep.
So you go ahead and drive the conversation, because you were the one that put this in here, so go ahead and...
Yeah, I mean, obviously, first and foremost, neo-Nazis are fucking losers.
Oh, trash bag human beings. They will burn in hell.
Easiest comment of my life, for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is no safe space. They will burn in hell. Absolutely. Go ahead.
A little Pastor Sai coming through.
Well, it's just no safe space for neo-Nazis. Like, that's good to make that clear. I agree with you.
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah. Well, because I'm going to defend them slightly, which is always feels bad, right?
I'm actually going to probably do the same thing, so keep going.
Yeah, so I've just seen, so I occasionally browse, like, Reddit, just the popular page. I also get in the weeds as far as, like, just AP or Reuters. Sometimes Yahoo News, just because, like, I'm also a comment section
feed
weirdo.
all the information into your brain and sift through it, including the Yahoo garbage.
Well, just also people's response to it. And I kept seeing this sentiment of... I don't know, just like so.
Oh, to the story specifically, the response?
Yes.
Gotcha.
So just to summarize, this is Cincinnati. There were some fucking loser neo-Nazis who pulled up in a U-Haul, which apparently is their MO. I don't know why they're always in a
human beings.
U-Haul. But so they're on an overpass for some expressway, and they're flying their fucking swastika flags.
Chubby ass white boys. Keep going.
Yeah, right. Behold the master race, and they always just look like
that's
losers,
always the thing online, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So somebody catches wind of this, because obviously they're standing on a fucking overpass. So somebody whose exit is right there maybe texts a neighbor. Word gets around that people are flying just black and red fucking swastika flags. So the neighborhood turns out. And there is already a police presence, because I assume whoever this group is, I mean, we've seen them before. They're somewhat organized, obviously. And technically they're demonstrating, they're protesting. So maybe they had like a cop with them. And then when the police started to see a crowd gather, they were like, all right, well, this might be an issue. So more police come, they're sort of keeping the group separate, and then the neo-Nazis fuck off in their U-Haul.
Yep.
And a lot of the sentiment I saw particularly in this, I can't remember, maybe it was the body cam, it might have been another video, but regardless, there were comments up at the top that are like, cops protecting them is crazy work. This video is very telling of who the police are here.
Those aren't wrong either, but keep going.
Law enforcement should have stood back and let them handle it.
I don't know about that one. That one's tough. Last one's tough.
Are you saying the first two are...
Hey, listen, there's two truths.
I'm not saying
I need everyone to know that in life, but go ahead, keep going. If you want me to take it away for a little bit, I can, but go ahead.
So are you coming out right now and saying that the Cincinnati Police Department is...
Let me say something simply about the whole thing, and then let's see what you think. To put it quite simply, in a vacuum, yes, neo-Nazis are allowed to demonstrate, because that is free speech. That is correct. That's correct.
Yep.
Like, that is just correct. But we don't live in a vacuum, right? And I think with the body cam footage especially, probably this might have come from the body cam footage, or maybe it came from any of them, but I would think body cam. Because think about the same kind of protesting, but with black people. The police wouldn't be the same, man. That's always the issue. That's always going to be the issue that makes sense to me coming from that direction. They don't get the same, black people can't just protest and not like... I remember there was like, I can't remember it was a real life thing where a bunch of white people marched with their guns in some rural area in this country years ago. I'd have to look it up. I wish I could, because I'm going to talk out of my asshole, but here we are. A bunch of white people did some like march with guns years ago. And it was, I hate to say a bunch of people marching with guns is peaceful, but like nothing happened, right? They marched, they were whatever, like gun rights, even though they could already wave that shit around like the dumbasses they are. I don't know.
Open
okay, in the same town, black people did it, and the cops were right on them in a heartbeat. So, how do you feel about that? Because I kind of know where you're going with it, where it's just like, hey, like they're allowed to have their free speech, which is correct. But would it be the same if it was a bunch of black people kind of protesting? It's tough. It's tough. Go ahead.
I mean, sure, I understand the sentiment of what you're saying. I don't know
Right.
that, the Cincinnati Police Department would treat, let's say, a black supremacist. Let's go to the worst fucking opposite, a black supremacist group protesting. I can't just assume that the Cincinnati Police Department isn't going to do the same thing for them as far as just protecting sort of a perimeter where they could protest.
Right.
I get what you're saying. I understand the sentiment. It's definitely treated differently. I mean, there's always a little quip that I see about Black Panthers in the, I don't even know when that was sort of prevalent, 70s or 80s. When they started marching around open carrying is when legislation came in about okay, who can actually wield in public? Like, do we really want citizens open carrying? Right? Like, it was treated differently. And I'm not saying that that's not the case now, but I was not going to assume that.
I don't even. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I don't even. A neo-Nazi could look me in my face and say, I'm allowed to be a neo-Nazi. And if after that statement they say, but also I do support black people's rights to demonstrate the same amount as us. And if they said that in a good faith way, which let's be honest here, but if they did say that in a good faith way, that's fine. I'm not going to hate you. I'm not going to try to destroy you. I'm not going to feel feelings about you because you're saying things that maybe I don't agree with, but you're also giving space to other things. So it's just okay. Do you agree with that? I feel like you would, but
yeah, of course.
Right. So, yeah.
I don't know. It's just I hate to see because here's the thing, we can't take what's intolerable and sacrifice principles that are genuinely good in nature, right? Like
we were chatting
right before we started the podcast. A local story for us where somebody went out, they took justice into their own hands. They took a metal pipe and beat a sexual predator to death because they knew where they lived. Blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you understood the nature of that person's crimes, whatever. But
didn't know him besides looking him up, right?
Right. But let's say he's the worst fucking pedophile in the world. You can be sympathetic to that guy just being beat to death in his home.
Of course you can.
But we can't live by those rules because we understand that those rules are there for a reason.
Right.
And those principles are sound. You have to be brought in front of a jury. You have to be given a trial. You have to be you pay your sentence, and let's say you get out of jail. You've been, here you are, you're reformed, or at the least you've paid your debt to society.
Yep.
We don't get to just, because the sentiment feels good, you don't get to just sacrifice the principles that are there for a very good reason. Yep. So I don't know. I hate to see, because these comments here, I don't know if you've got the doc up, but these 3 comments here.
Yeah, I guess I'll try to think through them even more. Cops protecting them is crazy work. Did they protect them? I thought did they tell them to leave? Maybe they think they are because they told
protected them.
They did.
There was a crowd. Okay. I don't know if you actually watched the body cam video, but that crowd was going to descend on the people on that bridge, and hands were going to be exchanged for sure.
Well, or maybe they would just tuck and run once the people descended. But you don't want to test that as the police. We get that. We understand that.
The intention of the crowd was to run these people off, which is
right.
Again,
of course. Dude, I would join the crowd too. I'd have been like, "Let's go." I don't give a shit. You know
we can be sympathetic to that, but we have to understand that they do have that right.
Yes.
They have that right to do that thing. That awful, terrible, heinous.
Correct.
Fuck these people. They have that right to be there.
Yeah. You'd like to think in the long run, people exposing their hatred outwardly, we let them, and then they look like idiots, so it doesn't help them. Right. We'd like to think. I don't know that that's how that works in the internet age. I think the jury's still out, and it's tricky as F, but to say the least with what's going on in the last few years. Right. But yeah. You'd like to think so.
You unfortunately you have to some degree tolerate intolerance as just a principle of people are allowed to air their views out in a public space.
Right.
But again, you can be sympathetic to dude, I would have loved to see some of these people's fucking
and
masked punched through.
yeah,
we
right,
can't
right.
do
And
that
also,
as a
but also,
civilized society.
let me bring a historical element to it. You're right when you said that, but that is true in a sense where we live in a society where people are not being actively like segregated against or separated. Like we don't right now. So meaning like they have a right. We have to tolerate the intolerant as far as demonstrating, but
Correct.
obviously like actually like discriminating is not acceptable. Is not acceptable. So right. So, but yes, you're right. You're right. Demonstration is just demonstration. Like it is what it is.
Yeah.
Just is what it is, and they can do it.
I just
And it
hate to
sucks.
I just hate to see the sentiment justified or at least popularized. I don't like that. I understand.
Right.
the
That's why you want to see
impulse.
the guy in the front who's chirping him, punch him straight in the mask. No doubt.
Right, because dude, you're holding a fucking a swastika flag, chirping
I
black
mean, it's
folks.
crazy.
Should get punched in the face, but like we can't live in a society that's like that.
You know what? To be a fly, like, how do you think these guys organized? To be a fly on the wall. There was some big piece, I can't remember where, in ProPublica, I think. ProPublica is excellent, by the way. They did some piece at the end of last year on some guy who, like, infiltrated right-wing groups out in the West. So it's just, like, these guys feel so able to be that close to a neighborhood of fuck around and find out people, and they still have the confidence to go out there and do that. Where are these guys meeting? To be a fly on the wall in their meetings, to hear like what gives them such confidence. Like, what are we doing? I understand that maybe an election that might have happened last year in a country that we may or may not live in maybe embolden them a little bit, but to do that, like, what do you think? Any thoughts? This seems crazy.
It is crazy. I do want to understand the impulse of people like this, because like,
Right?
what are you really accomplishing besides creating outrage?
Exactly.
I don't really.
Yep.
Like nobody's going to. Here's my thing. I'm driving on the freeway. I'm going to work. I see a bunch of people with swastika flags.
Yeah.
In my mind, I don't think there's anybody that goes, huh? Maybe there's something to Nazism.
No.
Maybe those people do have a genuine
Right.
gripe. What is the point of demonstrating like that besides just being a force for confrontation for the sake of confrontation? I don't know.
Because that's what it feels like. Yeah.
These people definitely organize on just groups online. Telegram would be my guess.
Yeah.
I know a lot of the genuine-
I didn't mean where. I know where. I meant more. What are these guys talking about that give them such hubris to be out in the open with just the most disgusting views that you could have? It's like,
I think at the core of these, I feel like at the core of people like this, they hate themselves, and they found an outward way to dispense of that hatred.
it's just like the biggest anti-homo politician you know from any country ends up running out of a male brothel house from like some male gangbang. You know, it's projection.
Yeah.
But I agree with that. Yeah. It's just crazy. Yeah. When me and you, I think when people
crazy.
like me and you, I don't want to speak for you. I'll just speak for me. When someone like me sits there and thinks to myself, like, I cannot come up with a scenario where I am confident enough to say, yeah, I support murdering a group of people. Like, what? Are you fucking stupid? Like, it's just the smoothest brain you've ever seen.
Just for the sake of who your parents are.
I think the way that me and you approach it to have a healthy, because it takes a real adult to say, I hate them, but as long as they demonstrate, they do have that right. Those are the kind of people that I think you'd have to work for it, but could sit down with someone like that and somewhat pry into their mind. Because you need to, you cannot interview someone who's an extremist in an adversarial way at all, but you don't want to give up if you're thinking of it from a journalistic viewpoint, you don't want to give up that integrity. So you really need someone who's skilled at making. Who's Louis Theroux? You've seen his stuff over the years.
Yeah,
great, right?
Westbrook Baptist Church was that's one of my favorite documentaries.
He does a great job, right? But it's a skill. You have to be that kind of person that can thread that needle. Oh yeah.
You know who does somewhat of a good job at that? Who is like super grassroots and online and
Channel 5. Channel 5.
Channel 5. Now, regardless of the fucking weird There's a little bit of a weird thing there about like certain allegations, but taking
Oh
just
no,
his
I didn't know. Oh man, all right, keep going. Just
yeah,
keep going.
yeah. Let's not touch on that. Let's
Right.
move fast.
I will have to
But
look
he
myself.
definitely
But yeah.
gives me the Louis Theroux. Like
Definitely.
he knows how to disarm anybody. So you could be the most hateful person in the world, and like maybe it's the goofy ass suit he wears, but like he's very disarming, and like you feel like you can just be honest.
I think with him, the suit is part of the shtick, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what you're wearing. You do have to be skilled at it in the first place. I think the suit helps him, but because Louis Theroux just dressed like Louis Theroux just like dressed like a 30-year-old dad the whole time, and like or like a 40-year-old.
For sure. He's also like British and just like,
British.
Inquisitive.
Yep.
He doesn't ask like attacking sorts of questions necessarily. Right. Certainly not out of the gate. So he just gets.
And also that you do another part of the equation is you do have to go, but both of them do a good job of this. You have to go to places where people are already public about it. You can't, who knows all the trillions of private thoughts all of us have, and most of us never share. So you still have to go to but he goes, Andrew Callahan? Yes. He goes to conventions or like a rally. And Louis Theroux kind of did the same thing. His is a little bit different, and maybe
he's
even
different. Yeah,
he's even a little bit deeper with his work. But still, Westboro was very public already, so it's not like
Yeah,
so
that's a great documentary, by the way.
That is. I've seen it. Oh yeah.
There's so much insight there, because you can tell some of the people they are calculated. They know that they're being awful, but then a lot of the people just think they're doing what they think is the right thing to do, which is wild. Imagine protesting a veteran's funeral, right? Like, in what world?
It's deep-seated. It's deep projection from somewhere, like you said.
It's nuts.
With them, I don't know what it is. Maybe they hate themselves. Yeah. Probably they hate. I don't know, man. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Let me to end this topic. I'll circle it back to it. Think about this. We can say, when it comes to law enforcement, we can say they should be unbiased. They should always just be following the letter of the law, blah, 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 this and that. But it does not work in reality when you have human beings who are always biased. So that is, I think, ultimately with the police, the biggest hill that is society still has to climb a bunch, where I don't how do you grapple with the fact that they're still biased, but what can you do to make it as good as it can be? Because you should never just give up and let cops. I see horror stories all the time of corridors in certain parts of the country where they're just kind of like taking money from people because they can legally, like whatever. They're just like,
oh sure,
dude, they can go power trip, and we all know it. Like whatever.
Small town cops are going to be the biggest because there's less oversight. Right. You're going to find the most corruption.
They can power trip easily, so that's the thing. It's like, especially as you think about it from a multicultural society standpoint, it's like, how do we get a police force that is as unbiased as possible when human beings are inherently biased? Yeah.
I think, and again, just to sort of wrap this up, but I think the biggest positive that came out of the George Floyd movement was the standardization of a lot of body cams.
Yes, just have body cams, bro.
It protects the public. It even protects honest police, right? Like even those instances where, say, somebody got taken into custody and they made a lot of allegations, and it's your word versus theirs. But yeah, so it's body cams, and I think FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act requests, have made policing much better. And is it perfect? Absolutely not. No system with human beings acting in any capacity in it is going to be perfect. You're going to find flaws every single time.
Boy, do you remember what was it, like a year or two ago? Body cam caught like some black lady getting straight up shot in her house. She was like carrying soup in a pot. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah. It wasn't even soup. It was just it was hot water. It was hot water. Yeah.
It was horrible to watch. I think it was over the fact that she like religiously rebuked him, so he took offense to it. He must be religious or something. And I'm like, wow, like really? She said in Jesus' name or something, dude. Anyways,
say that.
Body cams.
Yeah, you're remembering it correctly. She
body cams everywhere.
She had picked it up. She had picked a pot up of hot water. Didn't necessarily look like she was gonna throw it, and she was like, "In Jesus' name, I rebuke you." And he said, drop it, and then fucking just gunned her down.
Dude,
and I do
rough.
think
Rough.
body cams they make things more complicated, but in a good way, because we can actually understand as the public what went on. Now, you can still be fooled
What do you mean
about,
it makes
like,
more complicated? What?
does make more, absolutely it makes it more complicated.
What do you? I don't understand what you mean by that.
Well, before it was one word versus the other. Now it is, here is a literal visual.
Why does that make it more complicated? That feels like it makes it better. I'm so confused.
It makes it better in obvious circumstances. It makes it complicated in complicated circumstances.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes, it does. I mean,
because I will say,
use the same word to describe the word, but yes, I do. I'm following you. I think more often than not, a good rule of life is, and tell me if you think this is dumb as shit, because that's fine. I'll accept it and eat it. A good rule of life is like that crazy shit, that kind of crazy shit doesn't happen all the time. This is where conspiracies are born out of. So you're probably with body cam still gonna catch non-crazy shit, but obviously you get the actual video, so there's no bullshit.
Well, let me ask you this: how many people? Because when Floyd got murdered, or
nope, that's the correct way to say
inadvertently
it.
killed, after you fucking
He was murdered.
have a perspective, after your perspective is, Derek Chauvin did have a body cam, and I'll say this right now.
Yeah.
It was very obvious that people didn't necessarily agree on what had happened. Mm-hmm. Right? Whereas, let's say there's no body cam, and it's a blip on the radar.
No, I know.
People don't respond to it because we don't.
The video creates more of a revolutionary reaction with the protesting and stuff, because you see it, it's visceral. Like, it's way
right.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Things don't go unseen. They
go
viral.
Let me make the case for murdered. Can I
it's
make
better
the case,
though.
Can I make the case for murdered, and then we'll move on? Let me make the case for murdered, and we'll move on. Okay.
Yeah, I love it.
Here's the case, and it's really short. You know me, I'm clear and concise, baby. We're not sitting here bullshitting like the right wing does. Fucking right. Jordan Peterson talking to you about it. Anyways.
Word salad. Not here.
Man was being. Hang on. Here we go. Man was being arrested for what? What was he being arrested for?
Counterfeit bill.
Do you think anybody in any circumstance should ever be handled by the police for that kind of crime in a way that they even come close to dying? Yes or no?
So here's where I'm going to play devil's advocate.
Oh, okay. Now we get it. Okay.
Because your crime doesn't matter if you fight the police.
It still does. No. So that's. But I totally disagree with that.
Arrest you, and something happens. Now it's you versus the cop.
No, I totally disagree with that, because even if I grant you, and no, this will be fun. Even if I grant you that, yes, now you deserve to be like charged more, maybe even handled in a certain way. You cannot. Sure. You have a responsibility as a police officer to understand that no matter what is happening, even resisting arrest does not ever allow you to stray into the realm of killing someone. Even if they get away and you have to rearrest them and that's fine. But there's something about that is disgusting to me. And I would hope that, I don't know. I was going to say I hope most people agree with me, but I shouldn't say that about that. It's my opinion. But yeah, it's something about that's disgusting to me. Like, no, you should not. Like, you go ahead.
I'm sorry. But the training was the knee in the back of the neck. It was inadvertent.
Change the training. That's fucking terrible. Okay.
There was no malice. It was a knee in the back of the neck because of the training. It's a way of keeping somebody subdued.
Okay. You know what? Me and you were gonna go join that bridge in. Anyways. All right.
But you see what I'm saying is there's always an angle. There's always an angle.
Of course there is, because there's two sides to every story. It's in the same vein as there's two truths to everything too, a little bit, right? I do grant that, like, yeah, look, if you're counterfeiting things and you broke the law and you're resisting an arrest that is legally should be done, then yeah, you should be charged with more. Like that, all that is fine to me, fine. But I don't understand how him dying is ever acceptable. That's unacceptable.
Right.
That's unacceptable. Right. Like, all right.
And I think if you're not, no, just to be clear, I'm not defending Derek Chauvin.
No, I
know.
I
was just trying to make a point there, but
I also started it by being like, "Let me make the case," like a little comment, like, scum.
Right. Well, I'm not gonna not play
No,
devil's advocate.
no. That's how we have fun with it, no doubt. All right, yeah. Let's move on. So,
yeah, go ahead.
all right, the next one. I did find an AP article where I think I skimmed it, and he definitely said it right in a truth or whatever. Like he definitely said it right. That Ukraine's at fault for the war, and also I didn't even look at this too hard. It's like, and he said that it's killing its citizens. It's like, what an absolute moron. So yeah, the easiest place to start here is like, and I know the answer, but let's just talk about it, I guess. Why are people believing the most insane, brazen, dumbass lies you've ever seen in your life? Like, it makes no sense.
Sure.
Like, Russia invaded. It is so stupid because, like, these are obvious things that I'm saying, and I'm not being big brain about anything, but people still it feels like maybe buy into like the stuff that this man says about Ukraine when they're obvious lies. So I don't know. Just the easy answer is, okay, it's kind of culty and they just listen to their leader. Like, okay, I get that. That's true. But I don't know, man. It hurts when it's brazen lies and people like believe it. Does it not for you? It's like, oh my God, dude.
It's one of the most painful things in my life, honest to God.
All right, well, that's an exaggeration, but it feels like it
No,
sometimes.
it genuinely is not. I get really...
Oh, when people lie?
No, not when people lie. When the general public, to a large degree, accepts the lie.
Oh,
that upsets me.
Dude,
especially when it's so patently false, right? That upsets me.
Yeah.
And I have to make peace with, like, oh, well, maybe these are a lot of bots. Because, like, the only way I'm seeing a lot of these sort of sentiments are comments. But I do talk with people in real life that kind of parrot some of the same stuff. And it's like...
Yeah, I have
man,
someone I know,
like, for example, in here. And, like, it feels like beating a dead horse. Because, like, we know that Trump lies all the time. He doesn't just exaggerate. The man doesn't flex numbers. He
just lies, bro.
Of 10 off from the facts all the time.
Oh, yeah.
So in this speech, he said Zelensky had a 4% approval rate.
Oh, I saw
which
that.
Is just, it's so patently false. It's so obviously false. You can look at different organizations that poll the Ukrainian people. And, okay, let's make comments. We could say, oh, well, people at the front line, like, how are you polling them? The infrastructure's fucked up. You can't reach these people. But, like, there's always, like, these weird niche arguments that you can make to sort of chip away at the legitimacy of it. But the guy does not have an approval rating of 4%, right? Like,
no.
You could take a poll of the German people and take Hitler's approval rating. It's not going to be 4%, right? Like,
no, right.
Just objectively, nobody has that small of a number. And for Trump, that's like a throwaway comment, which blows my fucking mind.
Yeah.
How is he allowed to say these things?
But you said it the right way, though. It doesn't. Him saying it doesn't worry me at all. It's just another day for him being an absolute turd burglar. Loves his toilets and deep diving in them. But it's when a lot of people seem to accept it. Wow, that hurts because it's like, dude, what are they thinking? Right. What are we doing? Why are they believing this?
Well, the other thing that's awful for me is you could, like, say I go down to Main Street and I try and find conservatives and I go, hey, listen, President Trump said Zelensky had a 4% approval rating, but really it's more around like 50 to 55% in Ukraine. Like, patently that's false. How do you feel about it? And they would just chalk it up to like, oh, well, that's Trump.
Joking.
And he, like, exaggerates.
Right. Off the
There's never any serious criticism of the way, and he doesn't play fast and loose with facts. He's not in the same fucking ballpark as what the fact actually is. Mm-hmm. And, like, he just is allowed to do this by his supporters. They don't give a fuck. And they don't care.
And he'll float like, we're gonna make a deal without Ukraine at the table, and we're gonna take $500 billion in minerals from them. And me and you, I gotta stop saying me and you, but at least for me, when I read stuff like that, I'm just like, bro.
I'm agreeing with you here.
Like, even like a huge Trump supporter, like, how do you not see that is stealing? That's what it is.
It's
Like, I
it's
don't. Yeah, yeah.
negotiating, it's bad deal making, it is
It's right.
almost extortion, and they won't use any of those words.
Why is he so obsessed
It's
with
just
minerals? I heard minerals Greenland, minerals Canada, now minerals Ukraine. It's like, are these
yeah.
tech bros like whispering in your ear about minerals, minerals, minerals? Like, that's all I can think of. Like,
I mean,
I don't know. Yeah.
it's certainly another conversation, but I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there at the end.
Yeah.
I think that's Elon Musk in particular, sort of putting shit in his ear. But
I mean, they were all at the inauguration, though, but yeah. Or I don't want to say all of them, but yeah, all the heavy hitters.
again, and this is the thing, like, and I feel like we might have talked about this last week or the week before, but like, if Biden had Mark Zuckerberg at the front row of his inauguration, heads would fucking explode.
Did you see what he said to the Maine governor the other day? If Biden never did that to a Republican governor, it's, you know.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, did
It's
you
just
see
like,
it? Yeah, you did.
it's
Okay.
just like, yes, I did. Yep, yep. And I wish he told him to just eat a bag of shit. That would have given me, so much gratification.
Yeah, all you
because
can do
Trump
is say see in the courts. But yeah.
Trump is so used to the people around him sucking his cock
Yeah.
that to see him actually confronted with some real sort of opposition in real time would have been so
The
gratifying. 'Cause
nature
he's just
of being a
my best friend.
billionaire is to be disconnected from reality. So you have to, and now that's not an excuse. There's plenty of people who are rich who seem to be decently connected to reality, meaning you have to work hard to try to understand what common people go through day to day, what the trials and tribulations are, you know. But if you just have a bunch of if you're Kanye, Trump, Elon, and you just have a bunch of yes men around you that just say yes to everything, what do you? You're just, and you're a narcissist to go to boot, and with Kanye, you're bipolar to boot. It's just a toxic mix of now you're tweeting out your new long sleeve T-shirt line of Nazi swastikas and just block color with a swastika. Great, real great. Like
Wild. That shit was wild.
that's real creative. Just block colors with a swastika. But anyways, what a piece of crap.
Again, like, and it really is beating a dead horse, but I cannot overemphasize the fact that like there's zero outrage from conservatives over that. Like, Kanye openly supported Trump. He had lunch with Trump
I don't
3 years ago. Man, Kanye buys ad time for the Super Bowl, linking his merch website, and removed every single piece of merch except for a white T-shirt with a swastika on it. And there is nothing to say from conservatives.
He did that when he had the Super Bowl ad?
Did you not know about that? Oh,
no.
yeah.
This was a couple years ago or something, probably? Oh, my
This
goodness.
was 1 month ago.
Oh, Kanye had a Super Bowl ad this year?
Correct.
I didn't even watch the Super Bowl. I watched Moana too. Full disclosure. So dang,
I
that's
watched
crazy.
the Super Bowl when the Chiefs were getting smoked to bring me just joy into my heart.
That's
But
fair. If they weren't getting
spent-
smoked, you wouldn't have watched. But yeah, that's crazy.
Correct.
Yeah, that's tough. That's tough. Dude,
It's
yeah, I know.
just- there's no like you're just allowed to do that. Like we should all be condemning
I would say this.
that.
I don't really care about outrage from conservatives in like my day-to-day life for the common man. There should be uniform across all political parties in this country. Like this is disgusting. What do we? Do you guys understand that these people took human beings and put them in gas chambers? And by the way, children too. Like and right now in 2025, we'd be like having a conversation where I have to say that out loud and spell that out because it really feels like a lot of you out there don't understand that this is what happened. Like people were. It's just it's tough, man. It's making me and you struggle with our mental health. But what can you do? What can you do?
Nordensai, just to correct them.
Did I say it?
Yeah, you did. You said both our names, which is actually we're in this together, baby.
Slice it out.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just don't understand.
It's tough.
It's to me the silence is very telling.
Let's connect it to something.
Biden was under a microscope, and plenty of people, including myself, a self-confessed leftist, was criticizing Biden all the time just for his senility.
Yeah, but this
right?
is
like
what always happens. People.
But it's just the silence on the other side to me is deafening because they don't give a fuck when it aligns with who they are, or it's somebody who's sympathetic to their cause. They don't give a fuck. They will never hold their own accountable.
It feels like
ever.
It feels like it's silly to talk about this because it feels like it's well known, but you have to say it out loud because people don't acknowledge it. People's integrity are literally negative to the point where you're just like you know how many times I listen to someone say something or do something? Most of the time it's a Republican, not all the time, but most of the time. And I'm thinking to myself, like, they have to know somewhere in their brain that this is bullshit. Like, they're just saying it to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you know what I'm saying? It's like, what the hell are you even saying? Like, not Trump. Not Trump. He literally is off. He's also, by the way, everyone, we were upset about Biden being senile, and we voted someone who's senile. So add that to the fact that he's crazy, a narcissistic fucking loser. It's a bad concoction. What are you going to do? All right, let me frame this in one more way before we move on from it. What do you think about the Russiagate stuff now, seeing it through the lens of 2025? Because I was one of those people, lefties, that were like, I don't care. Let's do things for the economy. Focus domestic first. Foreign policy is important, but focus domestic first. It's just like I thought it was a little bit of a nothing burger. I want to be fair. People like his one-time campaign chief in the 2016 campaign did get arrested and go to jail for Russian ties and some meddling.
Manafort.
Right. So, but I still thought
Yep.
it was like not a nothing burger, but just like a lot of nothing. But when I look at it through 2025, I just all of a sudden I'm starting to maybe not say like I was wrong back then, but maybe think to myself like, because people used to back then be like, what does Putin have on Trump? And I'd always be like, dude, like that's too far. Like, I don't think that's it. Now I actually am like, whoa, like what does Putin have on? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm just like, so I don't know. Like, where were you then? How do you feel about it now? You know?
I'm still not convinced. I think Trump is just dumb and petty.
That's,
I
mean,
I will always leave open the possibility, but I truly think that Trump is just dumb and petty. I think, you know what I think?
Okay.
If Zelensky signed the mineral deal 3 weeks ago, I think Trump would have given him everything he wanted. Everything he wanted.
So Trump's transactional.
I
It's just facts, bro. That's 100%.
You just think
facts.
he's transactional.
Yeah.
Now,
So
it
that's
could
fair
be
point.
the case. This could be, but to me, like, pretending that he's a Putin puppet and like this whole like ordeal over the mineral rights. And by the way, it's more than mineral rights. It was like port rights.
Dude, it was like $500 billion worth of stuff. It's crazy. That's
it
all
was
kinds of
it
stuff.
was a lot of infrastructure that they were like, hey, we just want to own this, and then we'll keep helping you. But regardless, I don't give Trump enough credit to be calculated like that. I
So
truly think
that's interesting that you said what you just said. Let me not press you, but you said if Zelensky actually gave them mineral rights, then Trump would back him 100%. So you think that Trump is still aware that Putin's a little bitch and he's the USA and he's much more powerful. So you don't think that Trump is completely a moron. You don't think he's completely in Putin's pocket, or not in Putin's pocket. You don't think he's so stupid to just be like doing dumb things. You think he understands his power dynamic? Because why would he do that for Zelensky?
I think you're framing it poorly. I think if you think he's in Putin's puppet, I think if you think he's Putin's puppet, him doing all of this is calculated because he knows they won't agree to it. Like in the case of him being Putin's puppet.
Maybe I am dumb. I didn't understand that. Say that again.
Like
Slowly. Yeah, go ahead.
You were framing it that he's not dumb enough to work for Putin. He's just transactional.
Well, he is transactional, but go ahead.
For sure is transactional. There's no question about that.
Right.
I think if you think he's aligned with Putin because they have some dirt on him, you're giving him more credit than he deserves.
I don't think so. I don't think that. I find myself asking myself if that's true, but I don't ultimately think that. I don't.
No, I know, but I guess to me, like, it seems like if he was Putin's puppet and he's demanding mineral rights and port rights because he knows Ukraine won't agree to it, and he knows that puts him in a tough spot, that gives him more credit to being calculated, to where I don't think that's the case. I don't think he's on...
Okay.
As of right now, I don't think he's on anybody's payroll. He just truly wants mineral rights, and his ego got hurt that Zelensky said no, so now he's kind of erring on the side of Russia because
Yeah.
he doesn't want the world to
Let me
see
ask
that
you
he's
this.
not a deal maker. You know
Let
what
me
I mean? Like,
yeah.
that's Trump's pea brain right there.
Let me ask you this. Do you also think it's Trump's weird, like, affinity for dictators because he wants to be one? Maybe that's also why he would maybe feel a little more... I think that's true. But
I think that's undeniably true.
right.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself why. It's like, oh, because he just likes power. Now, he's made it clear he
Right.
doesn't actually like working. He golfs all the time, and who even cares about the golf? Put the golf to the side. Everything is done by everyone else. Like, clearly. Like, he doesn't do
Yes.
anything. He just likes the power, likes to be liked, wants to kind of be a dictator because it gives you the ultimate power and likes, in his mind at least. Because he's a fucking idiot and a bird brain. But,
Yeah.
yeah.
I do think if you were to say, is anybody in his orbit aligned with Putin?
Oh, for sure.
Absolutely.
Dude, Tulsi Gabbard, I'm not trying to slander her too much, but my word, brother, the things that she says, I mean, it's exactly what Russia would want. I'm sorry. Like, every time, it's facts. And, like, that doesn't mean that doesn't mean Putin has dirt on her or that she's actively, like, working with Russians. That'd be a huge scandal. Even if you work in the Trump administration, you could not get away with that. That would be a huge scandal.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, come on, man. Like, why are you saying these things? Like, what is happening? She met with that dictator in Syria, which he's rotting in hell. Or no, I think he flew to Russia. I think he flew to Russia after the whole collapse. Anyways, whatever, dog.
Is it Gaddafi? No, not Gaddafi. Sorry,
no.
Bashar al-Assad.
Yes,
Bashar al-Assad.
Thank you.
Yeah, she did. She's such an odd... You know what's funny is I was very fond of her for like a good 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, because she
as
did
like
the
a
2016 thing of calling out the DNC for Bernie, right? You remember
She
that?
called out the DNC.
Yep.
She was anti-war. She was just very well spoken. Like, and then, dude, the fall from grace is crazy for me. But to me, that kind of sums up who she is because, okay, here's somebody. She was certainly like considered on the Democratic platform, but she was not selected. And she kind of like just changed gears to find where she could find her power. And to me, that's the worst kind of person. Because you have no sincere beliefs.
100%.
You are just
100%.
You're transactional. You're just looking for power. You don't give a fuck how you get there.
Because her whole thing was being hugely anti-war. You could argue that was one like the top 2 things that she even ever fights for.
Absolutely.
And they just and Israel just rolled tanks into the West Bank today for the first time in decades. It's like, you're part of that administration. It's just make it make sense, bro. Make it make sense. All right, whatever. Anyways.
Did they unplugged today? I didn't see that.
They did.
That's interesting.
Google it real quick if you want to know. But yeah, stuff.
Reuters is my homepage. Let's see what we got here.
Oh, Reuters is a very good site to use. We'll leave it at that.
Well, they have a paywall, which is new,
tough.
which upsets me. But I said, you know what?
It is upsetting, but you also get it.
$4 a month. You know what I did? I signed up for Reuters.
Oh, look at
so there you go.
That's how independent journalism. Every time you listen to a podcast from some journalism outlet, they're always just like, "Help us out. We need your donations. If you want democracy to stay in the light, why don't you give me $15 a month?" It's like, okay.
I've donated to Wikipedia.
I actually have donated to Wikipedia too, man.
Subscription to my local news organization. You know, I'm trying to be.
Unfortunately,
consistent.
and we'll clip this out because it's the mark of the beast at this point. I donated a lot of money to John Fetterman, but whatever, we're over it. Okay.
Okay, we can.
No, we got to move past it.
One.
I think you liked that guy too at one point, and I just.
I don't hate him right now, so. But
I
we
don't.
can
I don't hate him, but. Okay, he's massively disappointing.
Sucks like Israel stuff. He's still pretty consistent on other things, but yeah, let's move past it.
You know what? I think that's still true. I just think that he's been cozy with Trump, which sucks, but whatever. All right, anyways. So last one real quick, and it was just...
He's playing the culture game. He's playing the culture game for sure, which makes me sick to my stomach, but carry on.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah. But anyways, all right, the last thing is about our boy Bernie. I feel like... Let's start out because we're coming off a Trump topic. There's a little bit, and it kind of goes in with the question I have here. There's a little bit of an undying love for Bernie, too. Kind of, not cultish. Let's not call it cultish, but let's just say, like, Trump and Bernie have diehard supporters in a way that... Can you think of anybody else like that in this country? I'm not sure. Maybe AOC? Maybe? I don't know. But,
Yeah.
So, you know... he did this event the other day in Omaha, Nebraska, of all places, and
Yep.
pulled 3,400 people.
Yep.
Not even running a campaign, running for nothing. Literally, just has
Well, you know what
one.
he's doing.
You see this? You see this right here? He has one curtain, and he printed one placard that says "Fight Oligarchy," and he got 3,400 people to show up. That's insane. That's actually insane. Think about that. So, like, what is this man's appeal? Why do people love Bernie like this? Especially as that appeal goes across what you feel like can be a range of ideologies at a time. And I've always said, I think it's because he's very genuine. People who are anti-government, most of them probably still don't and never have liked Bernie. But you can get a few people because of the genuineness that Bernie is and the vibes he gives off of based on that. People can be like, okay, I don't believe in government, but I feel like that's what makes some of those people be like, hey, I feel like he really does care, right? And because I feel like he really does care, even though the proposed solution might not agree with the way I usually think, I feel like because I care, because I feel like that care, I trust him more. You know, and I guess the following conversation would be like, well, why do people feel that way about him? I don't know, but
I mean, I could tell you.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah, take a stab at it.
To me, he's just so goddamn consistent.
Yes.
I mean,
yeah, that's yep.
One of the first things I saw of Bernie was him when he was a representative. So he's in the House of Representatives. He's on the floor, and he gave a speech, or he was part of some sort of back and forth with some Republican congressman who called the Democrats socialists and blah blah blah, which is so funny. Like, nothing has fucking changed for those people. But anyways,
True.
And he didn't even call Bernie a socialist. He was calling some other very run-of-the-mill Democrat, oh, shut up, sit down and shut up, you socialist. And this is in the
It's
early
like a
90s.
centrist Democrat, which is a right winger in any European country. But go ahead.
Especially in the 90s, in the Bill Clinton era,
Oh yeah, right. So this is back then. Yeah, right.
So, but he mentioned something about homos in the military. The Republican that's
I've seen this.
You've seen this one.
Yes.
This is in the 90s, the early 90s. And Bernie goes, wait a minute, did I just hear you say something about homos in the military? And he goes on his fucking tirade of these people signed up to serve the country, they're fighting, they're following the same rules, who are you to disparage, people
And
who
that's
are
correct.
actively correct, which is absolutely correct.
Right.
And that's just, but to me, this speech, not only did this speech sound exactly the same back then as some of the shit he's saying in 2020, whatever the fuck, right? Also, let me ask you this. When do you think Hillary Clinton first publicly endorsed gay marriage? Let me ask you
It was
that.
late in the game. Dude, Obama wasn't until, I think, after he ran the first time.
If you were to put a year on it. Let's say Hillary Clinton.
I mean, if
first
Obama
year.
was in 2009, 2010, I would say Clinton 2008 maybe, 2007 for campaigning purposes.
Oh, she precedes him. That's interesting.
Yeah, just for
No.
campaigning purposes. No, she posts. Okay. Yep.
So the first time she publicly endorsed gay marriage was in 2013.
Yep.
Now let me ask you a follow-up question.
Yeah.
The first time that public polls flipped in the positive for gay marriage.
She's such a scumbag, dude.
Yeah,
She's such a scumbag, dude.
2013.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
me-
shocked.
For me,
Yeah, go ahead.
this is what it is even if you don't agree with his ideas,
Yeah.
he is consistent. He's been saying the same shit
Yeah,
for
'cause-
fucking 30 years. He's honest about what he believes, and he's literally there to advocate for what he thinks is the right thing to do.
Yep. And I'm about to
Most
be
politicians don't feel like that.
I'm
They don't
about
feel
to be
like
a,
that.
I'm about to be a Hillary supporter to bolster your point. They would be like, to your point, they would be like, hey, these people grew up in a different era. Yeah, and that was the accepted. It's like, okay, Bernie's 897 years old. Hello, and he was right.
Yeah.
It's just not an excuse. It's just not an excuse, man. I do think
It's just
that
the consistency. It's the honesty. He truly gives a fuck about American people. That is, and for some reason, he's
he just
been
gives
able
a
to
fuck
bill
about
himself
people,
as that. But
go ahead. I know, right?
Yeah.
Jesus, I know.
Well, specifically the American people, for sure. He's a politician. I mean, that's your fucking job.
Trump uniquely gets the so here in America or in any society, if you have an election system and a lot of people don't participate, if you're a unique candidate that can get a monstrous amount of people to just vote for you off the sidelines and just you alone, you'll win everything. That's how Trump's won, because he gets a lot of people who don't even vote I saw like interviews with people that were like, I just vote Trump and I don't even vote down ballot. I don't give a shit. Like,
that's wild.
People who
That
voted
is wild.
well, and that's how you got Democrats winning most of those swing states in the Senate.
Right.
Most of them.
Right.
That's exactly how you do that.
Yeah.
So the math lines up with that, and I think
That's
it's a travesty.
crazy.
It's a travesty that Bernie's not that guy that can get people, because we've had the discussion many times. He is
that guy.
I don't
He's
like
not
using
enough of
I
that
don't like
guy.
using the word robbed. I think that's stupid, and you're gonna tell me, well, I think so. That's fine, and we'll give you your seconds here in a minute. But like, we've talked about the 2016 race 100 times and how Bernie was, robbed, quote unquote. But like, he still lost in the vote count. That's a fact.
Yeah.
You can tell me that it's because the Democratic Party wasn't, enough to see the vision of Bernie. That's true, but like, you still didn't get the votes.
What's funny? Yeah.
Well, let me
superdelegates
bolster your point before you go. I'll
Go
bolster
ahead.
your
Finish
side
point.
of it really
Finish your
quickly.
point. Finish your point. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
and I'm going to do it by bolstering you. He never got a chance to actually run in a nationwide campaign to see who he would bring off the sidelines, to be fair, right? So maybe if he finally did get a November 5th election day for him on a party ticket, maybe that's the best way I can see an argument for, like, he was robbed. Because if you were able to get him to the election, because he still lost against Hillary, bro. He did. Now, we can argue, like, vote suppression and this and that, and because superdelegates are dumb as shit and, like, all this dumb shit. But if you got him to the election, maybe he does bring people. Because I hate saying out loud Trump has been the best politician ever, bringing people off the sidelines who would have never voted anyways, and now he wins everything. But that's true, and it sucks. So
It is true, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because there's a huge group of cynical voters in the U.S., and if you can tap into their pulse, they will show up just for you.
It's a strong pulse, no doubt.
Bernie almost did that. He certainly
might have if he got to an election.
I got the most politically I have ever been involved was Bernie's 2020 campaign. Actually,
Me too.
Because he got close.
I went to a few
and
events.
you know what I will say?
I think I knocked on
I
doors
think you
one
can-
day. Yeah, go ahead.
I didn't knock on doors. I phone
I did.
banked a little bit. I donated a lot.
Absolutely.
I was just sort of a public advocate. Like, I was fucking just having conversations with everybody about, regardless.
Yeah, yep. Giving him like $40 a paycheck, whatever I could do. You just like go ahead.
Oh, I gave
I gave a lot, but it was over time because I would
yeah.
get paycheck, and I would be like, all right, give a little,
yeah,
give a little gas,
right.
All right, anyways, yeah.
Regardless, and we don't have to get hung up on this because it truly is old
No,
news
hang
at
us
this
up.
point. But if you want to say Bernie got robbed ever, I would say 2020 more than 2016, and that was just
Do you think so?
the entire Democratic Party coalescing to because Trump.
With the
Bernie-
endorsements, those endorsements were scummy. Oh, I don't want to say scummy,
One
but those
of
endorsements, we knew what they looked like and smelled like. You know what I'm saying? Like, we know. they all talked behind the scenes. Yeah, go ahead.
Pete Buttigieg somehow won Iowa, but it was weird the way they counted it. Bernie straight up won Nevada, and
Yeah,
right
I remember that,
before-
dude. That was the peak happiness. Go ahead.
Right, dude. I thought it was happening.
Dude, I was
Right before
soaring.
Super Tuesday, everybody else drops out but Biden.
Yeah.
Everybody drops out but Biden. That is a coalescence. That is
Tough.
an
And I remember
active
some
effort.
tension between E. Warren and B. Sanders, which, dude,
Yes,
I
flipped
like Elizabeth Warren.
Her-
She started the CFPB, like she ran it for the like you know what I'm saying? Like, dude, sometimes I
She
feel like there's so
played
much
the
weird hate
game.
for women sometimes from certain people. I don't know, but I like E.
It's-
Warren. Like,
well,
she's
I mean,
she's
yeah,
no
I
Bernie
mean, that's-
Sanders, but she's good. She's good, bro.
I am resentful of Warren.
Why?
But
What is this?
Her politics are mostly sound because she
There was
fucking,
tension. That's why. Yeah, I get it.
Her
Yeah.
politics are mostly sound, but she played the game and she played it in a way that disadvantaged Bernie in one of his
Yeah.
biggest moments. So I can't help but hold resentment against her. For
Yeah,
that.
there was.
That's
I remember
just-
like one of the debates. There was weird like after or before or something. There's tension there.
she came after Bernie. She called him sexist, more or less.
Oh, that's right.
And then she also stayed in after
No
everybody
way.
everybody coalesced behind Biden, but she stayed in only to attack Bernie and drop out after Super Tuesday. And they split a lot of voters.
Yep.
It was calculated,
Dude,
and that's gross. to me.
imagine calling someone sexist that
hate
has
that.
multiple pictures of locking arms with African Americans during the civil rights era and bringing them
Sure.
saying it's just like, dude, that was crazy. All right, maybe you're making me remember these memories too and be like, hey, come on. But look. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
we
can't
talked
fall-
about being a mature adult, right? At the end of the day, the things that Elizabeth Warren votes on and some of the things that she's led and helped create have been very good. But that sucked, you know?
But imagine a Bernie presidency in 2020. You know what happens
Yeah, but
with that? Trump
Warren-
doesn't win.
Elizabeth Warren
Trump doesn't win.
Elizabeth Warren could drop out, and I think Biden still wins. We'd have to revisit it. I'm saying that a little too much with
That
confidence because I
one's-
don't know. But like, come on, are you really saying Elizabeth Warren tanked Bernie all herself? I can't buy it. I sell that. I sell that, bro.
I think if all the Democrats stayed in, Bernie wins.
I agree with that, but they didn't. And even if Elizabeth Warren does drop out before
Right,
Super
they
Tuesday,
all
I just
drop
don't.
out.
Yeah.
They all drop out, but the person who overlaps the most voters with Bernie.
No, I know. It was
And then
all a
they-
scam, dude. No doubt.
Okay, so it's
She
calculated.
sucks. She sucks because of that.
There was a big group text message, and Bernie
That's what it
wasn't
was.
in on it. But
That's what it was.
every single,
what it
every
was.
single
That's like-
other candidate was.
That's like
And Barack Obama started the group chat, and he said, "Listen, what about Biden? What about Biden?"
Sure. Because I think
So it's just, you know. go
I
ahead.
think barring a Democrat with extreme skeletons in their closet or a Democrat being a really, really poor candidate, barring those two things, no matter what Democrat ran, because Trump was so stupid with COVID, they were going to win, right? And we've talked about this. You thought Biden was a bad candidate in 2020, and he's going to end up having the most votes for a presidential candidate possibly in our lifetimes. You understand that, right?
You know
But go
what's
ahead.
crazy? You run almost anybody else on that ticket, I bet you they get more votes.
Maybe they
'Cause
get
that
more.
was the moment.
I don't
then.
disagree
That
with
was
you.
what that moment was.
I don't disagree with you. I don't
Could have
disagree
been
with you.
any of them. Trump was that awful, especially after January 6th.
Wait, what does that say about the quality of our candidates? So tough, dude. So,
Well, yeah.
Yeah,
Hey,
right.
listen, and we should close every pod with this.
I like
People,
Kamala.
vote
I
in
like
the
Kamala.
primaries, please.
I always do.
Nothing changes if you don't vote in the
I always
primaries.
do. I voted for Jumaine
Don't vote in the
Williams,
primaries.
and then in the New York State governor race didn't pull through.
Oh, you live in New York State? That's wild.
Oh boy.
Just fucking
Um,
with you. But to me, it's you know who
Mexico?
votes in the fucking primaries is just boomers. So unless you want to
And
let
your
them
boy.
keep controlling who actually shows up on the ticket for the big fucking day, show up to your goddamn primaries, please. Young people, I'm looking at you.
I never miss a chance to
Please.
change my local Oswego politics. Okay. Anyways,
I could say.
no, we kind of
I'm just. It was just fucking. Right. Yeah. Go ahead.
and of course we do feel the same way about Bernie. I just
Sincere.
wanted to.
There's plenty of things I don't agree with Bernie on. I would vote for
What?
him 10 times out of 10.
What don't you agree with him on?
Well,
Well, he voted for Marco Rubio for Secretary of State, so Bernie, I'm coming for that ass. I don't understand why you did that, brother, but no problem.
Well, it's interesting. I didn't actually know that. But let's be honest, Rubio's probably the most sane person in Trump's admin so far.
So I think that's what happened. I think because he had been a senator for so long, and I guess he's not like Ted Cruz, who's a complete cockbag and nobody likes him.
Or Pete Hegseth.
It was kind of like
Yeah.
Marco Rubio was kind of like one of those old school nominations that would always sail through with like no abstain, because it was just like, okay,
Right.
like
But truthfully,
I
by
disagree with you,
comparison,
but you're not going to be a crazy person, But
But in
unbeknownst,
comparison, he is the sanest person of Trump's admin, right? Like,
dude, unbeknownst to everybody, even people who got nominated to be cabinet members in Trump's own fucking government, They have no power. Trump just does whatever he wants, homie. And you better do what he wants on any given issue or fuck you. You think Marco Rubio of 15 years ago, you can go back and look at videos where he's like more of like an old school politician, more like pre-Trump thing, whatever a lot of these guys are.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me that person 10 to 15 years ago would sit at a table to negotiate the ending of a war without even seating one of the participants. That's smooth brain behavior. And that's not someone right. That's not someone so it's not they just do what he wants. Like I don't even understand why people like Marco Rubio accept a cabinet position. You won't be able to do anything you want. Everything you do has to be exactly what Trump wants. Like that's what we're doing.
Just about to say. Yeah. Do you think there will come a point where Rubio regrets? I think there will come a point where he gets fired, because Trump fired like everybody in his administration last term. But do you think there will come a point where Rubio's like, maybe I shouldn't have taken this fucking job, right? Like, what the fuck am I doing here?
I don't, because as I was ranting there, like, there's always more nuance to it. I thought to myself, like, he is literally Hispanic himself. I don't know in what way. So maybe Trump doesn't care. Trump can't care about every single thing. So as long as you on everything that he's paying attention to and he wants done, as long as you do it his way, you can have your own agenda, because he's going to be like,
right.
Oh, you want to mess with Chile? I don't give a shit. Like, do whatever you want. Like, yeah.
Right. I got you.
So no, not in that way, but I do think I did the other day think to myself, how could Trump end? And in that scenario, I don't even know why I was thinking of this. Maybe because I was masturbating. I'm not sure. Anyways, and in this scenario. What's that?
Think about Trump when you masturbate?
Well, you caught me. Anyways, in that scenario, I was like, can you even in your mind come up with a scenario where Republicans impeach him? I can't.
Yes.
You can. Oh, what is that? What is that?
I've told you since he was...
Oh, yeah, you did say he won't make it to 4 years. Okay.
I don't think he gets past 2. I think his own party impeaches him easily. Because, again, he can't run for a 3rd term. No serious Republican is going to try and endorse that. He's done all for them that he can.
All right.
He's not gonna.
No. I mean, you saying no serious Republican would endorse that. I don't know.
No serious. Not anybody that's just a fucking bootlicker. Nobody that's. You know what I mean? Like.
Right. No, I hear you.
Bootlickers would be
so
like,
I guess then, hey, what's the definition of a serious? And how many are there?
Well, many serious ones.
Right.
The Trump era has been a weird one.
So yes,
but anyways,
yeah.
So, right, I get what you're saying. Even a lot of the bootlickers will not. They understand that he can't run for a 3rd term. Regardless, he's done for them all that he can, especially after, as long as they don't fuck with the election 2026. Democrats are going to swing back hard. He's done for them all he can. He's going to do something stupid, probably with Iran. He's going to get impeached by his own party. If not after 26.
We'll see.
With enough support from Republicans who are just over the Trump era.
I feel like whenever we talk about these things, you overlook the fact that he can mess with government enough to rig elections to be so totally in his favor and like this and that.
At that point, if they truly... Because, okay, so we talked... you sent me something maybe 2 months ago about like some fuckery with the 2024 election.
Oh yeah,
a lot of votes that got disenfranchised, especially in swing states where certainly when you have 40,000 vote margins, that could be a big factor.
Oh yeah.
But if he fucks with elections in a way that they just make them all fucking invalid, there's going to be civil unrest, and rightfully so. And you can catch me out there, baby. I promise you that.
I hope you're right. We'll see what happens in 2028, but I hope you're right.
But my point is, I could see him losing big in the midterms. I could see him starting a war with Iran. I could see enough Republicans understanding the end of the Trump era, siding with Democrats to have him removed from office.
I don't think war with Iran they would give a shit about, but okay. I hear you.
A hot war? A hot war or a proxy war? You think if Trump put boots on the ground in Iran, you don't think that'd be an issue for Republicans?
I hope it would be. Let's leave it at that. I hope it would be. I hope it would be.
The
That's all I'll
margins
say.
are so
Especially
thin
when you
that
guys are the clowns that latched on to Trump being the anti-war
Right.
candidate, which is just clown
Yeah,
behavior, but whatever.
fucking laughable. Yeah.
Right.
Telling you,
All right.
I would bet some serious money on Trump getting impeached by at least a year after midterms, before the end of his term. I would bet money on that.
Let's end it on this.
Sure.
Thinking about 2028, if Bernie in 2027, let's say in 2027, Bernie is still making speeches, seems spry, would you hold his age against him? Would you say go for it, or what do you think?
No.
I agree.
I would vote.
I'd rather
for
vote
the
for
corpse.
AOC. You know what I'm saying?
I'd vote
So.
for the corpse of a principled man over anybody else, because I can understand, unless he's so senile that he truly doesn't know what the fuck is going on.
Well, you're saying that you would vote for him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would want him to run though, because he would be so old. But
I don't want him to run.
I agree with you in principle.
I don't
agree with you in principle where it's like, dude, if you're spry enough, but you can never understand how that would be 4 years later. Like, what's Trump gonna look like in 4 years?
For sure,
Dead in
Trump's
the
gonna look
ground,
shit
like
in
you know what I'm
4
saying?
years,
Like,
yeah.
right. All right.
But I
We'll see what
trust I trust his political moral compass enough to where, let's say Bernie Sanders holds debates like Joe Biden did in 24, right?
Yeah.
Like just disaster. I still trust that Bernie Sanders' discretion over his political infrastructure than
So do
anybody
I,
else.
because at least that
'Cause he-
rotting brain had the brain of like a guy that I was like, let's go. It's true.
Right, that was principled. That was moral.
Yeah, there you
that was
go.
consistent.
Shouldn't say
Yeah,
it like
yeah,
that.
yeah.